All right, so I guess we can go ahead and get started, and we'll just kind of start out slowing so people still get gathered in. But for anybody that doesn't know, this is Matt Frost, and he's getting ready to go to a pretty big race here soon. It's Street Outlaws live filming, and then a week later it's going to be Dig Night, so he'll be doing some racing during the winter while we're all up here being cold. He's headed to Arizona, Tucson, right?
That's right. Yep.
So
4th and 5th is the first race, and the following weekend is the Dig Night race.
So really appreciate it. If anybody's out there, go cheer for him. Go cheer on a Colorado guy. He's got a really cool car. If you want to talk about the Hulk a little bit?
Yeah. So it's 1967 Nova. We call it the Hulk. It's had many forms of motors in there. This is the newest one is our Pro Charge. It's a 572 with a 136 Pro Charger on it. But it originally we started with a small block in it. It had like a little 415 small block with twins on it, and we actually originally put the car together to run drag week, and we put it on the dyno with the small block on there and realized right away that the small block wasn't going to do what we wanted it to do. So right away it ended up getting pulled out of there in a big block. We did a 632 in there, and that's been in it most of its life, the last part of the life of the car. We've done drag week with the car, we've done race week with the car, 10.5 Outlaw,
Yep.
and
No preps everywhere.
a lot of no preps, and then we just decided that kind of once we did the race week and the drag week deal, that's when the no prep scene started coming in, and that's when Street Outlaws started coming together, and we just decided that we wanted to really be a part of that. And I mean, we went on the show, we raced Chief, which was pretty intimidating to take a 3,600 pound street car and go run him. And on the show side of it, what you guys seen, it didn't pan out so well, but there was another race prior to that was pretty decent that we had between him. So it was cool. It was cool to have a street car that was a full street car that weighs what it weighs and actually be able to go compete with those guys. We just realized that we needed a lot lighter car and we needed to have a little bit more power. I didn't really want to mess with the turbo stuff no more, so we actually almost made the mistake of going to a fiberglass car and building a completely different deal right before we found out that the rules were going to be for a lot of this no prep stuff that it has to have steel quarters, steel roof. So we decided we'd already had all the parts and built a lot of stuff together to get ready to do this glass car, and we decided at the last minute that we were putting all that stuff in this car. So we pulled the turbo motor and stuff out of there, went from an AM front end to a strut front end on the car, and ended up putting this billet 572 in there, which now the car is actually 500 pounds lighter, and we got a lot more power out of the hole with it. I mean, 60 foot is so much better than it was before. So
it transfers better and everything seems to just work better.
Yeah, well, it didn't at first. I mean,
right, yeah, no, I wanted to carry the wheels clear.
The learning curve for a little bit was a huge issue for us, but
Sure.
We changed the suspension around. We did some different stuff with the shocks, understood the weight ballast, because what had happened was we went from a predominant front weight ballast to the rear weight ballast on the car, and that's where we were having the problem with it wanting to do wheelies and whatnot. So we've learned a lot in a short period of time.
Some weight back on it.
Absolutely, we put a little bit in the front to get the nose back down, but I think now that we've got the suspension where we want it to be, we can start bringing some of that weight off there. We think we've got it figured out to where we don't necessarily need it up
Very
there
cool.
now. So it's a learning. It's always a constant learning curve with this car, and anything that you're doing. I think with the race cars, it's always you're learning. You're always figuring stuff out. So we're actually, it's nice because we're going into the season this year with a car that's ready to go, where the last couple seasons we've been halfway through the season before we got out. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day when we were talking about doing this. I was like, man, Matt tried so hard. He got the car done right at the end. I know he wanted to do more racing because you talked about how you wish you were able to do more, and it just so happens that the car's almost in its prime. And now this opportunity's here where most people have their car all pulled apart before Vegas.
Absolutely. So. And that was what kind of where we're at. A lot of guys were saying, hey, why don't you go, there was a calling for JJ to boss down there to get people to go race down there. Why don't you go do that? Well, I wasn't quite ready yet. We just weren't, the suspension wasn't right. And, we want to make sure that we have everything ready to go before we go. And we feel like this time, I think we're still probably learning the tune-up side of it because we still have a lot of power to put in the car that we haven't used yet. But I think now we feel comfortable enough with the suspension and stuff in the car to go do this race, And we don't intend on winning the whole deal or anything like that, but if we can make some solid, good rounds and make some rounds, then I think we've won.
Right, absolutely. That's all about just getting the car figured out and testing,
Absolutely.
and then you've changed the whole car. It's the same car, but
it's
different car.
Yeah, it's different. It's more of what it needed to be. I mean, it got to the point where with this motor and stuff in there, like all of our rear suspension, tires shook it so bad that we ended up looking at it, and once we started realizing, we had a sportsman anti-roll bar, and we had a sportsman track locator. We didn't quite have the right shock, so it was like, okay, well now we have all this stuff up front that's killer and major horsepower. We need to work to the back of the car. So that's what we did. We put doublers on the 4-link so that it can't, because it literally, when it was tire shaking in Pueblo, when it broke the wheelie bars, it literally wobbled the holes out for the 4-link bars. Like they were, it was mushroomed outward. So
that's how hard.
And it was just miles, it was a mild steel 4-link, so we went and put the chromoly doublers on there. Yeah.
So that's the thing, is you can make all the power you want in the world, but if you're not figuring out a way to harness it, it's not going to do you any good.
And people don't get that. They think that just because you do something, you should be able to go out there right away and you should have it, and the car should just go, fly down the track. Even with the first motor, it took us over a year to actually figure out the suspension and get it where we wanted it to go. So I think, in a short period of time now, we figured some stuff out. And obviously, at Pueblo, it was doing wheelies and it wouldn't go down the track. And then when we went to Vegas, it was making as fast as passes, and it was just like it was on rails down through there.
So it's almost there. We're
getting there,
right there.
Now we can start bringing the power in. The reality of it is bring the power that we want in to really go. And I think, don't get me wrong, those Street Outlaw guys. All the guys that are doing the no prep stuff. It seems like you're always behind the 8 ball with them guys, because now they came out with brand new cars.
Right.
There's all new stuff, new technology, all this stuff, and we're hoping that we're kind of somewhere in the middle of that now, because it seems like every time that I've ever done anything, I've always been behind. It's just
trying to chase it.
Absolutely, my history of racing, we've been racing street racing forever. When the first track stuff we did was when Scott did what did he do? His street cars deal that was U.S. Performance, the U.S. Performance deal. So we started with my Camaro with the stock suspension, and the first couple races we did really well, and slowly everybody progressed. And then I built a coupe, and the coupe didn't fit anything. So then we went to an Outlaw. He actually built an Outlaw class where, it was at the time it was the pro stock Cavaliers and stuff that were in the class we were in. Like we were out of our league there too.
Totally different.
But you know what? Hey, you're still out there trying to have fun and do what you want to do.
Sometimes what happens when you build something that's cool and unique but different, and it doesn't.
It's completely it just didn't fit anything, and it was like, man, we built ourselves into another spot where we're behind the 8 ball on things. And so this car here, I'm hoping right now that we're kind of in the realm of that. This is I could never would have thought that we would have been able to have a motor like this, a billet 572 motor. It's not something that you even think that you could obtain, but we worked hard and we figured it out. And we ended up with it, and I think we have the car that we want to have to be able to do this stuff. So
right, and when you're saying a billet engine, everything's billet, right?
Yeah, other than the heads.
The heads
the heads are still
polished. They look like they're
billet. The only reason they're not billet is because you can't run a water jacket in the billet head jet. They haven't made a water jacketed big flowing head, so the heads aren't. Obviously we're still going to run it on the street. We haven't got to that part yet. We still got to put radiators on it and stuff to get it to where we can do the street aspect of it, but we wanted to focus on getting the car dialed in before we went to the street side.
So we can go a couple ways. Matt also does Rocky Mountain Race Week. I'm building the car currently to go play around with these guys. It's nothing crazy, but I just want to go hang out with friends and go play and watch cars like his go down the track too. So we can talk about that some here in a little bit, but let's talk about a little further back before we get too far. History. Where'd you start with cars? What was your first car?
Oh man, I've had a lot of cars.
You have a lot of cars. Outside this place, there's a lot of cars still here.
Man, the history of it is with my dad, I was probably barely walking, and I was out in the garage with my dad, helping my dad. And so we did a lot of stuff when I was young. I learned a lot from my old man. And my Uncle Dave, he was in the street racing scene at the time when I was starting to become a teenager. Right. And so I remember, he had that, one of the fastest cars in the state with this blown Camaro, and I get to go with them and go do some street racing on Monaco and stuff like that. So as a kid, I started watching all this stuff and helping my dad or whatever. And
the addiction begins right
I think
there.
Before I was even 15 years old, I probably already had 5 cars. And I think the first one that I can remember that I had was actually, it was like a 73 Vega station wagon. And I ended up putting a 10-bolt rear end in it with some big old wide N50s on there. And at the time I thought it was something, but it was just a 307 small block that I'd stuck in there. And I couldn't drive it, but I could do burnouts in the driveway and stuff like that. So, it progressed from that. And then once I got my license, I've always had Camaros. My Camaro, I still have my Camaro from high school, and that was the one. I did street race it, but it wasn't. That car didn't kind of come into being finished till later on. I ended up, I had a couple of notchback Mustangs that we did nitrous on funny story about one of those was as we hooked the nitrous up to the turn signal on the old 86s. The push, the turn signal and the horn was the same, so you pushed on it. So it disconnected the horn and hooked it to the nitrous. So you'd push the horn button, and everybody'd always laugh when I was going down. Anybody that knew me, because the blinker would come on and they knew that the nitrous was on the car.
That's how you do
so,
it. That's cool.
Yeah, so it was that. And then
awesome.
I had a 70 Camaro or 70 Nova that was a 396. I put a 396 in it. Had a cheap ass old Boss Hog converter, torque converter in it that you never know where it was going to stall at, you know. So we started with that, and we did really well with that car. It was a really good street car, hooked on everything, and it just kind of progressed from there until I was probably in my 20s. We really didn't start doing the track stuff. It was always about the street for us. So started getting into the track stuff, and I think part of that was too that the cars progressively were starting to get faster. Plus the older guys that used to street race weren't street racing as much anymore. Like we used to go watch all those guys street race. And I think it kind of petered off because there was the U.S. performance stuff and the heads-up racing, so we had to go that direction.
Well, and I guess that's where you get to where you start building the car, and then you put the cage in it, and then legally you can do it, and you want to go beat the fastest guy, and the fastest guy's usually at the track. And
yeah, it just started getting to that point where
now it's going back the other way a little bit.
It is. I think there's a fine mix there, though. I mean, the problem you have today is I think that some of the kids don't realize how that happened. It wasn't necessarily the fact of that we didn't go down main streets where there was people and put people in danger. We went out to wherever it was, desolate and there wasn't nobody there.
Absolutely.
And even when the cops showed up, it wasn't a big deal. And that's still how we would do it today. But I think there's this false sense, unfortunately, with what we do that some of the kids don't. That I guess here's what happened. You had people that were older than you when we started doing this stuff that taught us how the way was. This is where you went to race and this is what you did. Well, it's been taken away so much. Cruising isn't there anymore, and hanging out with the older guys isn't there as much as it was anymore. And I think you've lost that where kids don't understand. When you said that you were street racing, you weren't going down a main street. You were going somewhere where
11th and Main.
There you go.
Joe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, that's the thing. Everybody knows about it, and it was different. Those dangers were still there, but now it's that easy. Cars are not what they are today.
No. Well, as a kid right now, you can buy a car that you put a couple add-ons on there, and the car could be in the 9s.
Mm-hmm.
Where we had cars that were 14-second cars that we thought were fast, and we built up to the 10s and the 9s. And when we were doing it back then, a 9-second car, it was super fast.
9 seconds fast.
That was the fast car.
Quick today,
but it's not the same as it was then. You can go obtain that right now. You can go buy a car, a Vet or whatever, a GTR or any of that stuff now, and you can put some add-ons on there, and you can do what we never would have been able to do with the budget we had at the time. So.
Right, absolutely, and that's what's really cool with everything. I guess I really like what Matt's doing with Race Week and all that. It's still street cars though. It's still cruising. It kind of brings it back to where we're just hanging out doing car stuff.
It does, and that's where I think the passion for Race Week and the drag week side of things or whatever is, it's even beyond my time of when they used to tow bar their cars to the track, or they used to, and they would go out on the road. You get your whole family piled in the freaking roadster or the family truckster or whatever, and you'd go across state and you'd see different things. One thing about Race Week and drag week and any of those kind of events, your family can get involved in it, and you go through little towns that you never in your life would have went through, and you say, oh man, look at that old Phillips 66 building, or that old Sinclair, or that old building that's still there that was from the 60s. It's still there that you never would have even known it was there if you didn't drive through that town. I think that part of it's one of the coolest parts.
Well, half of it probably you wouldn't know it's there unless you make it a stop on the route.
Well, even that though, just going, you'll see guys, we have our stops, but you'll even see people stop and actually do their own checkpoint pictures just because there's such some cool stuff.
The road.
Just going up in the mountains and stuff like that. Like there was an old jail. I remember a bunch of guys stopped at the old jail and took pictures of the jail and stuff like that, which you would have never known it was there. But it was. I've lived there my whole life.
Did,
I didn't know it was there.
Yeah,
absolutely. So.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool thing. And I guess for anybody that's watching that doesn't understand what Race Week is, I could explain it. Matt's done it. I haven't. But in a sense, 7 days.
Yep.
4 tracks,
and then you got 2 drive days.
Then you got 2 drive days, so it makes it not so harsh on everybody.
You're not constantly just. Load the car, race it, unload it. Not unload it because you're driving. What I mean by unload it is take the stuff out of it, get it ready for racing. You're not just constantly doing that. You got a couple days to drive, so you can actually spend time with your buddies, and that's part of what the deal is too. You meet so many people on this trip. And you can actually hang out with them. You got time to hang out with them. Plus, what we do is we try to mix it up to where you have some night races when we get to at the track, and then there's some days, and then you have our drive days too. So it helps you. You're not going down when you go down the road and you're broke. you're not sitting out there till 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning trying to get that part when the parts store opens. You can actually get it during the day and get yourself along the way.
Yeah, you can actually enjoy the event and have fun and hopefully make it. You want to see everybody complete
Absolutely.
it, but unfortunately that doesn't happen all the time.
What we're talking about, if you don't know, is you actually drive your car from track to track. You're not trailering it. You can pull a little trailer to put all your stuff in, but you cannot trailer it. And you cannot have somebody bring a trailer along with you.
Right.
If you break down on the side of the road, somebody else that's a racer can stop and help you, and somebody that is a bystander can stop and help you, but you can't have a chase car. So it's really, it actually brings everybody together, because as you're going down the road, you know, guy gives you the thumbs up. If he's broke down on the side of the road, it means I got it, we're going, we got enough people pulled over to help us, or you stop and you help them. And then, you know, we've actually had a really cool stuff where we've had people that were just following us on the internet or were driving by and stop and help us. Matter of fact, when we were doing drag week with my car, we ended up killing the flex plate. And so we put out on the internet, hey, has anybody got a flex plate? We need one for, you know, so we can change it at the hotel. And a guy from the area, he sent his phone number, and we called him. He's like, meet me at this mile marker.
Yeah.
We rolled in there.
Cool.
He gives us a flex plate and on his way. Well, I'm friends with him since then, and we've always kept in touch since then. But it's just really cool. I think we get so into where we're doing things so fast in this world that we live in now, and everything's so chaotic. It slows things down a little bit. Actually, you get to spend time with like-minded people from all over the country that come to this thing, and you get to realize what it's like to actually be like it was back then. You know, your kids can come and you get to hang out with people, and when you leave, you're friends with all these people, and that part of it's really cool.
That's what I've heard, and I see it. I'm on the Race Weekers group page, I guess you could say, and it's people are in contact still to this day talking about last year's event and enjoying it and their memories, and then talking about what's going to happen this next year. And just watching the live feed, I'm watching people that I've met from Texas, Oklahoma, going to some of the other races. They're popping in here. I really appreciate it, guys. Yeah, Kyle's in there.
Getting towed by the Wheelies. That's actually what's crazy too. Is Steven has a unbelievable Wheelies, and when we dropped the valve in this car about 250 miles from the last track, unbelievable. We thought we had it. We'd fought it the whole way through, and it drops the valve, and he wouldn't leave me on the side of the road. Gets a tow strap out, hooks it to the wheelie bars on his car, and hooks it to mine, and tows us for I don't know how many miles to get us off the road. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you do, you know. And same thing with him. He had some troubles at race week where we kept having problems with it kicking the belts off of it, and we would stop and we'd fix the belts. And we tried everything that we possibly could to keep that car going. And finally, he just is like, you know, you guys got to go. We can't do it no more. We ain't got no more belts. I mean, we actually even took a bunch of O-rings, like 7 or 8 of them, and stretched them across it to get to run the alternator. And it lasted for a while. It went a couple miles before it kicked it off, but it wouldn't sustain. So. And
that's some of the, you don't want to be broke down, but some of the best stories I've ever heard from the event are from breakdowns and how they got back up and running. And sometimes people have fixed their cars kinda and went faster than they ever have.
Absolutely. We had a guy actually blow a motor up and got a junkyard motor from Colorado Springs. They delivered it to him at the diner, and a bunch of guys stayed and they replaced the motor in the car right there on the deal. And we had another guy, actually we had 2 guys do that. We had another, Eddie did it at one of the track. He blew up a motor and got a junkyard motor, was digging the dirt out of the motor to clean it up, to get it in there, and made it the rest of the way. So there's stories like that. And that's, I guess, if you're not into this stuff or you haven't been into what we're doing, those are the things that make the memories. Like, you can sit at home and watch TV and you can watch these guys do this, you know, but if you want to do it, you got to go out there and you got to push a little bit harder. And when you do push, it gives you the memories that you want to tell your kids and your grandkids along the way. It's just like this thing, you know, we took the motor and sent it back to Steve Morris because it had some issues, and he calls me and he says, well, it's done, but he said it ain't going to be back in time on the truck. He says it ain't going to be there till after your race. So my buddy Royce says, hey, let's go. So we got on an airplane. We flew out to Michigan.
This is what day?
That was on the day before.
Christmas, right?
Yeah, it was the day before Christmas Eve. So we fly out there first thing in the morning. We get a rental car. We drive an hour to this place, pick up the motor, and we drive 18 hours back in the snow and make it back for Christmas Eve. You know, so, and yeah, you know, people are like, yeah, that's crazy. You guys are doing that, but you know what? That's something that we know that we did, and it's gonna be cool later. I remember when we were in the snow, you know, going 18 hours to get a motor back in the car so we can go make this race, you know, and just like, you know, Brent being my co-pilot in the car and some of the stuff we've done. I mean, you're so tired and you've worked so hard because the car's broke. You've had nothing but problems, but it's something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life.
Forever.
Yeah.
Like the turnaround time of, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I watched some TV, and what'd you do? I flew out, picked up an engine back, and now the engine's sitting in the car 2 days later or whatever. So, I mean, they're working on it right now as we're talking. They have a big race that they're planning on going to. Actually, 2 big races. Matt has a grudge race set up at one of them, and he got invited to a Street Outlaw filming. For a lot of people that don't know, there's a little bit of talk about it, not a lot. Street Outlaws is starting to move on to some of the, I guess you could say, no prep races. Yeah. So they're going to track, and they're setting up races. They're inviting 32 cars in, or maybe it's however many, and then you can race into. Yeah, 2 cars on the. I think 2 cars from the race your way in end up in there too with it. So I think it ends up being like a 34 car field. So 34 cars. You know what you're running for down there, money wise? 40,000. 40 grand. That's $40,000. And then there's a race after that one that Team Bodie's putting on, and that's another 40 grand. So the money in no prep's insane. That's why everybody's going that way. But Matt got an opportunity, so he said, "Heck, I'm going to make it happen." And they're actually, I was talking to him right before we got started. They're getting the car ready. They're going to drive down, do the event, drive back, and then a week later go back down and run again. So the love of cars, the addiction of cars, just wanting to go play, that's something that is pretty fascinating, I think, with anybody that's done cars. And you gotta have that drive. And the thing is not only that, you gotta have a great guy. I mean, I can't say enough about Brent. He helps me with everything, make sure that we get the car done and actually out the door and done. You gotta have that, and you gotta have family family and friends that are gonna support you to do this, because the way we do things, I mean, I know people think we got all this money and all that stuff, but it really isn't that way. That's why we got to drive back. We got to be able to work, that week between the races, because we can't just take that much time off. So it's 40 hours a week isn't acceptable. It's not. You're constantly doing something, and I think a lot of people mistake the fact of that, hey, they see what we do, or anybody that does this stuff and thinks, well, I can't obtain that. Well, you can, because what a lot of people don't realize, and I'll share with you guys, is I sold cars. I would come home from work and I would bring cars in that were impound cars from my buddy's impound after he got them or whatever, and I'd fix them and I'd sell them. I would do that, and I would do all kinds of different little things to be able to afford my passion, because I didn't want to take that away from my family. So I would do those little things to do that, and that's how it slowly progressed. I mean, yeah, I've done well for myself, but I've had my ups and downs. But realistically, no matter where I've ever been in life, I've always made sure that I've been able to do what I wanted to do. Right. Because I'll take that extra time to do those things to make that extra money to do it. So. Right, and not getting into real personal things or anything, but everybody does have those ups and downs, and if you're racing and it's your passion, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen and to make it to the track, whether you put it on a credit card to get the gas to get there and hope you don't break something, because if you break it, you're done for a year or two. You just hope that it can happen. But somehow we always figure out a way to, I guess, make it back to the track or make that big race or make the next event, and it's really cool. That's one of the reasons why I'm up here talking to Matt is Matt is into the sport for the sport of cars. He's not in it to make money. He's not in it to take anything from anybody. He's just there to enjoy cars and help bring the car scene to us, because I feel like that's part of our deal. With us being in Colorado, we don't get the scene as much as everywhere else you do. So, with Race Week, that was kind of my deal being a Rocky Mountain Race Week, is to bring a vacation, people here that don't see our Rockies and don't see what we have here and see the great facilities we have here. So that was part of bringing that here. And granted, we are going back out east or in the middle of America this year, but that's kind of just grab everybody so they kind of know what we're doing. But then same thing, I'm getting ready to do, in September, we're going to do a big no prep race at Bannermere, and I'm hoping that it's the biggest one that we've ever had here. And that's just to kind of get people to come here and see what we have, because everybody's so scared of our altitude, but the reality of it is everybody has that same problem when they come here. It's not just, well, I got a problem and it's not fair. Well, when you come here, everybody's got that problem. And we've already seen what the Pro Mod, was crazy. The Pro Mods World came Series here Pro Mod and all that stuff. Deal. It wasn't the fastest guy. It's not, and it wasn't a huge problem for them to get the power they wanted to go down the track. Oh no, they're still way fast. Yeah, so you can come here and you can still go fast. It's just a little bit more of a challenge because of the air, but everybody's slowed down because of the air here. So great facilities here, great scenery. There's a lot of cool stuff to do here, and that's where I've put my time into it. Is I'm a racer, and and I'm just an average guy, but I try to do what I can, and I know you've done it too. You've put your no prep race on to get people into our sport here and get people involved and get people to come from different places just to see what we have here and hopefully make it a stronger scene. Would it be cool to be the Ducks of the world and throw on a few big races and just enjoy cars, sure, but until that point happens, you got to do what you got to do, but then you try to strive for the other. So I don't think anybody's heard that Vandermeer, right? No prep at Vandermeer, question marks? Like,
that's right.
Nobody knows that, right?
No, it's
still right now.
It's good. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's going to be at Vandermeer. So I got in with them and we talked about it, and I think they were even ready for the, there was some stuff that was holding them back over the couple of years and not being able to do it. NHRA and probably some of their insurance stuff like that. I think, but everybody's starting to kind of move that direction, and I think that it's starting to loosen up a little bit to know that this is kind of where we're at right now, and we need to be able to take advantage of it. And that's a great facility to be able to do it at.
World-class facility, one of the nicest facilities. It's amazing and the people there. It's a family-owned deal. Like, talk about a car family. That's what it is. That Vandermeer's, and that's what they've always been into, and they've kept it for themselves. And I know that there's people that don't want that track there because the house is nearby, but it's there, and
it's still there.
They throw awesome events. They're always welcoming, and they're strict on their tech. If you ever run at Vandermeer, make sure you're on your car, but it's what you should be. If you pass tech at Vandermeer, you're good everywhere.
You
pretty
are
much
good
is the way I look at it. So when I build cars, I don't build them to go get around tech. I say if Vandermeer will pass it because I'm going to race there this year, then I know I'm pretty much good everywhere else.
And the thing is you got to look at too is with what we're doing with the no prep scene and stuff like that. I think that probably the safety is the most important because, in a sense, what I think there's a false sense that it's really really dangerous. And yeah, the first couple passes it might be a little bit shaky because you don't have anything down like you normally would at a normal track. But as it progresses, the track gets so much better. I mean, it's almost better than a national event as far as the tack that's down.
Crazy.
But with that being said, you do see the crashes and you do see some of that stuff. So I think having your safety equipment at something like that kind of race is probably very important, more than it is in some of the other situations. And neck braces. I mean, you can't say enough about Hans devices. I mean, I crashed my car at the beginning of this year, and my other car, my coupe, and I can tell you what, that Hans device is something else. I mean, I went straight into the wall, and I came out of there with my shoulders being a little bit sore, but nothing with my neck or anything. And I can tell you, if I didn't have that on there, I'm sure my neck would have been in bad shape because that was a hell of a hit. But that kind of stuff, your Hans device, making sure that you have the proper bars in the car and stuff like that, your fire suit and stuff. Probably one of the most important things we've seen is a lot of guys got on fire in the last couple of years, and they got burned up pretty good. So what did he say?
A Hans device is less confining than a wheelchair.
Right. So I think that doing some of that stuff. Yeah, you're growling about it. Yeah, it's expensive. Oh, it's costing me. Well, what's it going to cost you when you actually crash your car and your neck don't work anymore? Like it's a small price to pay, and it's something that you have forever. Like you don't necessarily have to keep renewing that. It's something that you can wear. In your fire suit, your gloves. Wear your damn gloves, because here's what happens. As soon as something catches on fire, your car catches on fire. If your hands get burnt, the first thing that happens to your hands when they burn is they go like this. Then you ain't gonna do nothing. You ain't getting out of the car. You ain't doing any of that stuff. So just wear all that stuff. I mean, it's not hard to put that stuff on and take it seriously. And have a fire system in the car if you're going fast enough to wear that. I mean, you should have it anyways, but really, if you have a fast car, you really need to be putting that in there.
Well, and we've been to them. All the no prep races, they don't know how fast you go. There is no ET, no time slips. You could easily have gotten in your car when you wrecked it without the Hans device.
Absolutely.
Nobody would have said anything to them. But that's just having it in your own mind. When you've been fast, I haven't been as fast as Matt, but there's certain points where you go that fast and you're just like, yeah, I think it's better to be a little safer. You feel it.
Even when I was on the street, a lot of guys wouldn't wear their helmet. They would. I put my neck brace on. I put my helmet on. I want to make sure that I'm taken care of in that situation too. You don't think about that sometimes because you really don't think you're going that fast. But really, I mean, it can get up to catch you pretty quick. And I think that safety thing. It's kind of one of those things that if you aren't doing it, you got to start doing it. Especially when you start watching stuff happen, and it really makes you think about it.
Yeah, so that goes for everybody, guys. Just whenever you're building stuff, be safe and take for granted the person next to you. You don't know their family, what's going on, so you don't want to mess anything. That just gets into that stuff and bad for the support. So you want to be safe. You want to keep the people next to you safe, and that's just knowing where your limits are at and stuff. Hey, Mike, if you're on here, Mike from National No Prep, I'd like to bring you on here in a minute. If you could comment for me, I'd appreciate it, buddy. And then we'll bring them on. They want to talk about some of the Tucson stuff. So let's go on to the next thing. So Street Outlaws, hopefully all's good there. Big event. It'll be televised. You guys will see it on there.
I'm sure the live feeds too. So
The live feeds, there'll be stuff, there'll be lots of content on there from that. Now, let's talk about Dig Night. There's a grudge race set up. I saw it posted. I haven't really talked to Matt about it too much. I just asked him, so you got a grudge race? What is it? And he said, yep, it's a grudge race. It's legit. So who you racing?
I don't really, I can't, I think his name is Darren. Sorry if I messed that up, but I don't really know that much about the car. I just got a call and said, hey, this guy really wants to grudge race you. And I did a little research to check. You know, you always want to look a little bit, see what the car is or whatever. But I mean, it's an Impala. It's a four-door Impala that's back cab, big tires. It looks like on there. From what I understand, I think it's a Pro Charged car, and it looks pretty serious. You know, I don't know much about it, but I just figured, what the hell, we're gonna give it a chance. So,
heck yeah, that's what you do. You just got to go wing it, and sometimes when you go out untested or I don't know, you'll have unproven. That's sometimes the best, man. I went out and had every issue I could have in a night, and I won that night. But I can go out there and the car run perfect, and I get beat first round. So it's
the funny thing is you can. I've had it happen before too, where we've tested and we've tested and we've tested, and it didn't seem like the damn car would do a thing during testing. But then as soon as it came, it's almost like it knew, okay, it's time to go to work, and it would just do what it needed to do. My coupe was really bad about that. You could test and it'd blow the tires off and it'd do this and do that, but once it came down to the line, the car would just work and do what it needed to do. So that stuff, you know, but it's part of it. If you ain't out there doing it and you ain't trying to do it, then you don't know what you're losing or what you're going to gain out of it either. So
right, and that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, that's all we're here. That's what we're doing right now. We're just enjoying cars and playing and wanting to. I don't know if I'm going to be able. I'd like to get Mike on here, but I can't seem to find him. First time doing this live feed, guys. Bear with me when I'm trying to figure some of this stuff out. All you're doing is looking at my finger right now, but.
And some things too, you know, like with us, we took some chances on stuff that other people didn't think was popular. You know, like we decided to go with the MS3 Pro in our car. It's one of the actual people that we've had sponsor us. You know, most of the stuff we do ourselves, but you know, there was a lot of worry about that system, and there was a lot of people that were like, you know. But actually, it got a really bad rap because originally it was a do-it-yourself type deal, and people would buy it thinking they could do it themselves,
right,
and then find out when they got home that it was over their head. Well, they've come a long way. I mean, they actually do Baja trucks, and they do a lot of different stuff. So we said, heck, you know, we talked to them about it, and that's what we've got in the car, and the car's been doing really well with that. And that's, you know, we're always open to trying different things that maybe are not the popular thing, because sometimes we're not necessarily the popular thing. You know, we want to go out there and give it a shot. So
well, and if you build something that everybody else builds, you're not going to be faster.
No.
You're not gonna go beat somebody with a heavier car that has old technology. You got to try something different. Whether it works out good, bad, and different, you have to try it.
Absolutely.
If not, you're just copying something else that somebody else has, and usually by the time you even get those changes or those things figured out, they're moved on to the next thing. So you definitely don't want to do that. What else you got, Matt? What else you think? Anything else you want to?
Oh man, I don't know.
See if I can pull these up. If not, we can. We got any questions? You guys got questions for Matt? I saw Kyle ask about an ET goal for the car, but
I'll tell you the ET goal.
I
just want to tell you what it's running right now. Ideally, where we want to be. So this is basically an all steel car. The only thing that's not steel on it, it doesn't have steel bumpers on there, and we are going to end up changing it. It has a glass deck lid and an aluminum hood. So where my goal is with the car, and what I'd like to see happen, it's a long, tall order, but I want to be the fastest all metal or all steel street car in the country. That's what our goal is, and I think what it would take to do that is probably going to be somewhere in the 630s in the quarter, and then our ideal goal is to be able to actually take the car, set the car up to where the car will run a low 4, you know, in a teen or 20 on an average, you know, without having to get on it and lean on the car hard. And then our quarter mile goal is definitely want to be somewhere in the low 6s. That's where we want to be. It's a tall order. You know, you can talk about it all day long. We're trying to actually get the car to do that. I mean, everything's got to be right to be able to do those things. And you know, hopefully what's nice with Brent and me doing the car is we've never hurt the motor by burning it up, because we do everything in a slow increment, because we really couldn't afford to burn it up all the time. But that's what our goal is. It may take us a while to get there, but that's what we're going to do. So,
yeah, so that's what you have to have, the goals.
absolutely.
Otherwise, there's no sense in doing what you're doing.
We're already seeing right now with this motor and this combination with the light, the 60 foot's better than it's ever been. The weight on the car obviously helps with that, and there's just so much more horsepower with the Steve Morris motor to be able to do what we want to do. I mean, it's unbelievable. The thing makes so much power, and I was scared when we first started doing it that we were going to overpower the car out of the hole and worry about blowing the tires off being it's a Pro Charger deal. But we've actually got some secrets now that we've learned from people to help us that actually can kill the power out of it, out of the hole, without, it's not even a timing thing. It's some stuff that a lot of guys don't know, but it'll actually take the power away from the car out of the hole so you're not blowing the tire off. So
that's cool. So I guess a lot of people, the turbo Pro Charger debate, you've had both.
I've had both.
Have you been faster with the turbo stuff in the quarter? Or were you even running a quarter?
So we haven't run a quarter yet with the car, but I can tell you right now that we're pretty much exactly where we were at with a lot less pushing. We're not pushing the motor as hard, and we're already where we were at with the turbo motor right now.
So easier, but you can't control the boost, right? With the Pro Charger, you control timing. Are you seeing a variation in boost when you're running, like depending on timing?
I mean, you're obviously making more boost with this motor than we were with the other one. I think the best we've seen out of the other motor was somewhere in probably the low 30s, and I think right now we're already at like 44 pounds of boost on this motor. But the curve is, he can manipulate it. Like I said, there's some ways we can do things to manipulate it with the boost. The converter in the car is different than what it was before, but it's just a matter of, it's so much more simpler. Like, you should see how much easier it is now to put this motor in this car than it was with the other stuff. I mean, it was just piled in there.
True.
And the other thing that was a big deal for me before was, all the switches that you got to turn on and all the stuff you got to remember to do. I forgot to turn some stuff on a couple times. Obviously, we've
Everybody's
seen
done it.
But the fact is, and then on top of that, is just banging away on the converter, trying to build boost, and this guy over here is not coming in, and you're banging away and tearing out the flex plate and tearing up the converter and doing all that stuff, burning up the tranny. Now, I look over there, the guy's doing something stupid, I just let off the gas. I can sit there and wait until he's done doing what he's doing because I got instant throttle as soon as I hit it again.
Yeah,
and that's a huge deal for me. Like, and not turning all that crap on. I can go in there, I can focus on what I'm doing, and go. It's more for a dummy, I guess.
No, that's being smart. I looked at it after looking at all the no prep stuff and bumping in. You watch what it does to your tranny and everything else. I started looking for an F1 for my car, and I was like, well, but I like the drivability of the turbo. I'm curious to see how yours does with the drivability with the Pro Charger. Right. And you're planning on unhooking it?
Yeah, we're going to pull it back. Actually, I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to actually take it off and just put it in our little trailer that we haul, and then mount the alternator or on the front drive of that. Because we don't have any room for the alternator right now, so we'll just pull the blower off.
It looked like a little baby.
Yeah, and then just put an air cleaner on it and just run it naturally aspirated down the road. I think your motor's going to last a lot longer that way too.
I agree.
We can filter it where we weren't being able to before.
True.
So you can put a filter on there. Plus, you're just not putting that much heat and stuff in there. So I think in that aspect, you're not going to wear as many of the parts
and the
out.
mileage on just the gears and just everything. So it just take it completely off the engine.
Yeah.
Get rid. That's cool. That'll be funny to look down in there and just see an alternator hanging where the Pro Charger
be there. It's a couple radiators and an alternator. So
yeah, that's crazy. So what do you guys got? You got some questions? Let's talk to some people. You got Royce on there. I saw Jim Hall pop in. I saw Matt trying to polish up your headers here when I walked in. I just cleaned them up, but still looking good. This car, maybe right at the end, I'll take the camera, we'll go walk around the car or whatever. It's a piece of art.
It's my nicest thing I have. Let's just put it that way. It's evolved. I mean, every time we're doing stuff all the time to change stuff on it. It still isn't where I want it. There's some stuff I want polished or whatever, but we keep moving and keep making the car better and better as it goes. So, and I want it to be, take pride in what I'm doing, and I want the car to be able to go to the car show and be able to present at the car show, not only just at the track. It's my investment. It's something that we've invested our time into, and there's a lot of people's time and money into the thing to make it work. So
yeah, and that's what it's about. Like, I drove up here today, I want to come talk cars. I hope this works out for you guys. I see quite a few people watching, so I'm taking that as everybody's entertained, and there's some value here for everybody to get. And which Brent's back there working right now. You want to come up here, Brett?
I think he's showing
he's showing the car off and stuff. So
drive it, I think. Is what
he's
doing right now.
He's a pretty awesome dude. Everything, right? Fabricate, tune.
Yeah, he can do anything. And the thing is, what's really cool is, we didn't know anything about tuning anything when we first started. The coupe was the first thing we'd ever put EFI on. It was a batch fire deal, and we kind of learned that. And then when we went to put small block in this car, that's when we first started really doing the EFI thing, and we kept trying to call people, top name tuners and stuff to have them help us, and you never get a call back. So I just told him, you know what, forget this.
Yep.
We are going to learn how to do this. I didn't learn how to do it because I forgot by now, but he's got it figured out. He studied and he tested, and and James. We have James over in the shop over there too with the dyno, and James is really smart with the MS3 stuff too. So those two started talking now, and they work through some stuff. But Brent can do. Now he can do anything. He can do any of the EFI systems that are out there. From not knowing any of it at one point in time to he knows all of it. And the thing is about him, what's really nice is he's not going to just go blow your stuff up. He does it in incrementals. He says, okay, I'm going to let you do this, and then we're going to see what happens, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to see what happens. And same with customers' cars. Like, he don't just put it on the dyno and say, okay, it's dyno tuned to the highest RPM. He'll get in the car, he'll go drive it around, he adjusts everything.
Right.
This is a Hilltop Speed Shop. I'll plug that real quick.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that
our shop here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he does all that stuff, and he can do anything. Like, the guy can
do anything.
Like, I'll do some stuff, and then I'll look and he does it, and then it's like, well, I'll throw that in the trash because yours is way better than what I did. So,
Yeah, so that's what. So, Kyle was asking if you're gonna put the flat hood back on the car. Up above, he was asking.
No, I thought about it, but I think that's kind of my signature, having that big old hood on there.
Hood.
What we may end up doing, we are probably going to end up repainting the car towards the end of the year. I know it doesn't look like it needs it,
No,
but
it doesn't.
we have some stuff coming up at the end of the year that the car is going to go to, so I think we'll probably put some fresh paint on it. We may end up taking a couple inches out of the hood just because it is really hard to see that passenger side of the car. Matter of fact, I got to have June walk at the front right-hand side of the car when we're going through the crowd just to make sure that I don't mow somebody over because I cannot see over there. So
just haul it up.
It is. So you sit so far back in the car and low that it's just really in your way. So we may take a couple inches out of it, but I don't think I can get rid of the hood. I think it's got to stay on there.
It's cool. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, the hood's got how
3D flames.
But how was it put in? I guess.
So it's aluminum hood, but it's bodywork.
It's all body.
Yeah, it's all bodywork to get it to raise.
It's crazy. It looks like it's all been cut out and it's all molded in and everything, but it's a really cool piece. And the hood's actually has it taken flight?
That one hasn't.
That one hasn't.
The glass one that was on it before, with the three. Yeah, it flew off at Drag Week. It was at the end of the track. It flew off, got caught in the parachutes, and it spun it around and shot it off the track. The ambulance came and picked it up. We had to rest in peace and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, so that's cool stuff. It's the car's beautiful in and out. The all-belted engine's something else. It's cool to just look at it. You've done well with it. It's kind of an icon car, I guess you could say, for Colorado. There's a lot of people that know it, and
sure.
They've seen it on the show, and you got a following.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that keep up with us and watch what we do, which is really cool. I don't know. It's just really cool because we are so passionate about what we do. My whole family is. My kids, everybody's involved with what we do, and just to have other people be involved and watch what we do and come to the track to see what we're doing. It's crazy how many people are just going to go to this event just to go watch their friends and family to go do this deal. Like that, you're uplifting your life to go do this, and I bet we've got probably 25 people that are just normal friends from Colorado that are going out there to go watch this dude.
It sounds like fun. We're going racing, but when you're sitting there at 3 a.m. working on something, or you're driving back and forth and not sleeping, it's tough on everybody. But I guess that's what we're passionate about. You appreciate everybody around you and the people, and it's just things you never forget with all the racing.
And just trying to keep it to where kids are involved and stuff like that. Like that's a big thing for me. That's why we kind of do the race week deal at the time frame that we do it in, because that way the kids are out of school, they can go be involved with it. And
really
it is.
Cool.
When you go, you'll see that there's a lot of people with their kids there, and it's not like, oh, they got to be right here. Like the kids will go check out the cars and they'll hang out with people and help them with stuff. And we need to get away from all this computer crap that everybody's doing. The kids are all too busy playing I call it Nintendo, but whatever they are now, PS4s, all the stuff that they do. And it takes them away from that for a week. It takes them and gets them out to doing something else. And they probably think at the beginning of it, I'm going to hate this. Why are you dragging me to do this? But, we've had lots of kids come back with their family and be like, hey, we want to do it again. And, some guys take their daughters and their young kids and put them in the passenger seat as their co-pilot and go out there. And it's a whole new experience for
They're
them.
learning stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. And so if you kind of don't know, how much is it? $100? Or what's it cost for a family? Because a family can do race week.
Yeah, so you have your regular race week guys that are actually competing in the deal, but then we also have a deal we call Road Week, and it's $175. We might change that a little bit, but it might be a little bit more than that, not much. But $175, you can stuff as many people in an RV as you want to. You get 4 t-shirts and you get into every track. You can follow everybody wherever they're going. As long as you don't help them with parts or anything, you can stop if they're broke down or whatever. But you get to follow the whole event with your whole family for less than $200.
Yeah, and it's a week. It's a vacation. You go see everything. And that's what's kind of cool. And that's what I've talked to some people that might go and hang out with me or go watch. Is you do the pull-offs and you go check out this in this city or whatever. And can we kind of talk about approximately where Race Week's at?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
So
we're missing one track right now, but basically this year we're going to start and stop at Great Bend, Kansas. Topeka's a great facility too if you ain't never been there. Topeka's freaking awesome. So we're going to be in Topeka, and then Noble, Oklahoma is one of our tracks. We were going to do Tucson, but there was a hiccup there because they have a nationals deal. So that's what we're working on right now, is trying to figure out. There's a track called Mocan that's not very far away that we can look at. So we're waiting for a call back from them to try to do that. But if not, we got a couple other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of
there's a couple of tracks in that area. But yeah, it's it's going to be right in that area. The air is going to be really good. We're doing it in June this year instead of July, so that maybe we can get the temperatures down. It's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Because when you come here in July, I mean, it was brutal. The guys that ran here, I had one guy. It was funny. We were at the hotel, and I mean, he just looked beat because that was our trip from Kearney to Denver, and it's like, I don't know, it's ridiculous.
It was like 90-some degrees.
Yeah, and the mileage is well over 350 miles. So you can just, and I'm like, how are you doing? And, I was almost scared to ask him, like, how did you doing today? He's like, man, I freaking treated rental cars better than I treated my car today. He's like, this is crap. And he was mad. He was really mad. But then we did the mountain run and got to Pueblo, and he comes back. He's like, dude, that was so much worth it to be able to go up through the mountains and check all that out. So it's a little bit of everything. It would give you the hot, and it gives you the cold, and it gives you mountains, and it gives you all these different things that get thrown at you. And,
test the car.
There's goods and bads, and we all make it through it. I mean, it was so hot, and I took everybody, we came into Denver, basically into Fort Collins, and went all the way down 287, and they had to hit it at rush hour, and it was hot. I mean, guys were putting ice. I had to put ice over the intake manifold in the Camaro just to keep it from vapor locking to get through the town.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were driving the
72
Camaro this year.
So it's just stuff like that. I mean, it's just those memories. Yeah, at the time it sucks, and you're going to be cussing, but at the end of the day, it's something you remember, and it's really cool.
So that's, as you can see, he's a busy guy. I trying to get the car together to go race for himself and do the outlaw deal, and then now planning a no prep as Race Week's not enough to plan and put together. I put on a race or two with my dad here, and I understand the amount of work that goes into a race that everybody doesn't even understand unless you've done one. And then Matt's event is ×5 and for a week long. So
but it goes pretty smooth. June's got her stuff together. We have a lot, friends that come in and help us while we're doing it. My uncle comes and helps us do the tech. Yeah. It does go very smooth, but it's all year. I mean, we don't, from the time we stop that event, we start again, and we're working through the year to be able to get the next one going. And there's been a couple times that I've wanted to give up doing it, but the thing is when we go and we hang out with our friends that we've met through this deal, and you're just like, you got to do it again. You can't not do this. So
yeah, and so and you'll never be repaid probably for what it is, for the amount of time and energy you put in, but it's for the love of it. Period. That's it. So if you're not doing anything this summer, you got a car that's been sitting in the garage for 6 years and you haven't done anything with it, do something, get it out, come enjoy it, drive it, because eventually somebody will if you don't. I love the little video Doug Klein did for 1320, and that's more or less what he says. If you guys don't get out and drive your cars, eventually one day somebody will buy it and they will go drive it. So don't worry about the mileage, just enjoy it, put somebody in it with you, and go have some fun. And
well, Jack Fisher, I mean, his Chevelle was sitting in the garage for I don't know how many years, and he got it out to go do our race, and he's been back every year since that. Not necessarily with that car, but he's been back every year because he's like, you know what, this is what it's about. And don't worry about it. Make sure you change your hoses and do all the stuff that needs to be done because it's been sitting in the garage. But if you break down on the side of the road, we're going to get you going again. There's enough people that will stop and help you with it. So, do it. It's something that you need to do it once in your life. Whether you're going to do it drag week or you're going to do race week, you need to get out and go do this because it's something that you will never forget. And if you take your friends or your family with you, you probably won't want to miss it. You'll have to do it every year.
Kyle, you better bring the caddy. That thing on race week will be cool.
You pack a lot of people in there too.
yeah, you might want to do both.
You can pretty much put a whole motor in the trunk of that car to replace everything on the car.
One with you. Heck yeah. No, that's so cool. So we're not going to bring Mike on. He was going to talk some more about Street Outlaw stuff, and I guess they're doing a pretty big small tire event, but I'll save that for another day, and we'll talk some more about that. Great time. I don't even know how long we've been going, but that's kind of what I wanted, guys. And if you want to see something else like this, let me know. Let me know who you want to see on it. I just want to talk to cool car people and talk cars, and because it's a passion of what we do. I guess to sum it up, kind of, let's talk Hilltop Speed Shop and the tuning. Is that all on this property?
It is.
It's the first time I've been here. They got a couple different shops. It's really cool.
We just added on this part of the shop right here that we're in right now.
It's a little cold.
Yeah,
not too bad.
We don't got a little heat in it. We don't have a heat transfer yet, so we're working on that. But this is a 3-bay shop right here, and then we actually on the other side of this wall there's another 3 bays, and then you go over to the next shop over there, and we got a 50 by 100 building. Our dyno's over there, and then it's kind of a staging area for our customers' cars. We do a lot of everything. We have several restoration cars here at the shop. They're taking a little bit longer than what I expected them to, just because we did do a lot of moving, a lot of changing and stuff. But we do restoration stuff. We try to do it as we would our own cars, and then we do wiring, fabrication, headers, turbo kits, a lot of EFI stuff. And then we even do a little bit of the stuff that's not so glamorous, but we pretty much do a lot of everything at this shop. Our rates are reasonable. We're between 65 and 70 bucks an hour, depending on what we're doing. And we do an honest job. Brent does a lot. He spends a lot of time in the shop. He's here all the time. I do have a trucking company, so I run the trucks during the day, and then try to come in and do whatever I can in the evenings or on the weekends. And then next door, Bob does a lot of our tear down stuff. That's my father-in-law. He's kind of helps everybody. If Brent needs help, he's over there helping. Yep. And then we got James over there too. That he runs the dyno, and he does a lot of our. He's starting to get more into our fab side of things. He's doing the Chevelle over there. He did the mini tub job on that. He's getting it tied in, and then so he's learning a little more of the metal shaping and stuff like that. And Brent and I have talked, and we think we're probably going to start trying to go into doing a little bit more of the cage work and stuff like that too. So we've had the equipment to do it, but we just haven't had the time. But we're starting to. We've done a couple, and they've actually turned out really well.
One of the local shops that kind of did some of that stuff that was local kind of just moved.
That's right. So they're not here. So we kind of felt like we need to pick up that niche a little bit.
So I know I know there's people that hit me up and ask questions and stuff. So I'll. There you go. There it is. If you guys need some of that stuff and build it safe and do it right and tune it and turnkey, whatever you guys want, I'm sure we can pretty much do it. So.
We're not to the point where we want to do full chassis, but
that's okay.
If there's some upgrades or something like that, and the thing is you got in-house tuners here too. If you need somebody to do some stuff to your car and you need them to go to the track with you and teach you how to do something or get your car dialed in, we have quite a few customers that are customers and guys that Brent helps on the side too that use him to tune this stuff. And same thing with James too. If both those guys are good at being able to go to the track, Brent spent a lot of time with a couple of our customers at the track trying to get their cars dialed in, and very successful with it too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done well, and it's like you said. And I talked to Brent a lot about what are you doing, how's it working, talking baby steps on just that one little thing or a little bit extra, and sometimes it doesn't work out perfect, sometimes it does, and you just try to keep it safe and you do what you can do. And I guess the thing I know with him is if something isn't right, he's going to tell you. He'll work on it and make sure it's right before just sending it out the door. So that's really rough with some of the tuning and stuff, but I didn't know. That's really cool. You got the dyno here on property. You got everything right here on the property. So. That's
right. The only thing we don't have is we don't have the paint and body here, at the shop, but I have a couple, good buddies that do that stuff that we farm it out. So, if you got a project that you're like, hey, I want it done, but I don't necessarily know who to get a hold of to be able to do all these little different things. And that's what's kind of nice about us is we have the connections with places that, we can basically manage your project if you need us to. We can say, hey, okay, well, we'll send it out here, do this, do that.
Stay on top of it.
Yeah. So it works out good that way. It's good. It's a good deal to be able to have, I feel like we're reputable and that we've done an honest job for anybody that we've ever done anything for, so you can trust us to be able to send your stuff out. I'm sure there's somebody out there that probably isn't happy with something we've done, but you're going to have that. So
a really cool project you guys did, and I don't know exactly the story that came up of it, but you guys built the truck last year.
Yep.
And they gave it away. Well,
basically
a waffle like everybody's doing right now.
We sold T-shirts, and with the T-shirt you got a ticket to win the truck, and the truck was a really cool build. It was a little 66 F100 truck with a big block Ford in it, just a really cool truck. And The guy that wanted it ended up going. He sold it to another guy that's actually going to run King Street in the truck. But man, it was just a really cool build, and it was fun to be able to do that and actually give it out to somebody.
Yeah, so that's the type of stuff that happens around here and with Matt. So I'll go walk around the car here in a second and show you guys kind of that, and show you where they're at. But before we go too far, before I finish and turn this thing off too early, please, please, please like, subscribe to anything that we're doing here. Matt's pages are Hulk 1967 Nova.
That's right.
Rocky Mountain Race Week, Hilltop Speed Shop.
Yep.
What else you got?
I think that's it.
So make sure, please, guys, go give him some support. Follow what he's doing. If you really like the car, if you didn't know, you still got T-shirts.
Yeah.
So he's got
We'll
Hulk T-shirts.
have him with us when we go to Tucson.
They'll have it in Tucson. Get a hold of him, or if you see him at the track, grab one, support him. He's a car guy, and that's all he's about. I asked him a couple days ago, can I come do this? Can we talk cars? And he's not working on his car right now to do this for you guys, and I appreciate it, Matt. I truly do. I appreciate everybody on the live feed for tuning in, and hopefully I can keep this going. Hopefully do some cool things and come back, and I'm sure we'll talk more race week and stuff when we get closer.
Look at updated stuff that we're doing in the shop or whatever. And thing too, if any of you guys got you know anybody that wants to be a sponsor for any of these events, the No Prep or Rocky Mountain Race Week or whatever, have them get in touch with me. It's a great exposure. The No Prep deal is going to have quite a bit more. I can't let everything out of the bag on the No Prep deal right now, but we have some really cool stuff going on with that. That's not only with the No Prep, that's going to get a lot of exposure. And then the other thing is too is Race Week. There's a lot of exposure there too. So if you have somebody, it's hard because you don't want to beg people for money. That's a big problem with if you got pride, is to go ask people for money. But just think about this. It's not for us on our gain. It's actually putting it back out there to you guys or the racers or whatever. So if you honestly have somebody that has a really good company that's looking to invest into something because it is a write-off, have them give me a call, because it's going to put their name out there, and it'll get them out, get some exposure that they may not necessarily have. There's another deal that we're working with that too on Race Week that it's going to end up, if it works out, another thing I can't talk about, but it's going to be a huge deal to get people's names out there.
That's cool. Well, and so I was out at PRI this past, about a month ago, and we were talking to some people, and some things came up, and something was said of, Matt's been paying out money at Race Week, and you have been.
Absolutely.
And somehow people didn't understand that. So whether it's a little bit or a lot or whatever class you're in, that's something that nobody else is doing, no other group's doing. So that's something to always come for the people that want to go win something or do whatever. Is it Vince? He builds trophies?
Yeah, Vince Rue does all of our trophies. Really cool trophies.
He does some really cool trophies. I've seen some of that stuff. So it's cool that that's a racer that does the event, that had some terrible luck and somehow still got the car together and ended up running this year, as well as making the trophies and all that. So it's things like that, guys. It's just, and I hope you guys enjoy it about what we're talking, just cars and all the fun stuff that comes along with it. So we can do a walk around the car. Matt can show us a few little things, and then we'll call it a night.
Oh, you guys getting on camera.
Hard at it over here. We're struggling.
April, you know how to run this thing now?
That's it, guys. If you don't know what we were talking about, it's all Steve Morris built, all billet. We'll see if we can get a block is something else.
It is.
Block is just such a cool piece.
You almost don't want it in the car. You want
No,
it in the
yeah,
house.
yeah. This would make a cool table, but it'd be a awfully expensive table. So, but it's getting close. So good luck to Matt, Brent, the whole crew up here, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. And see you guys later. Thank you.
See ya.